All right.
Hi.
Hello. So this is a new endeavor for both of us. One is that we're trying to use social media, and two is that we're using Facebook Live. It's what the young kids call, being cool. So, all right. Why are we doing this podcast? This Facebook Live podcast. It's called 40 Fit Fu. I'm sure you have some thoughts with Mimi Chan.
I don't know, it was your idea. No, pretty much we are actually broadcasting, just so you guys are all aware. Those of you on my side, thanks for joining in. Those of you on Oscar's site, that's awesome. Either one is great. So you can either log into Sifu Mimi Chan or Control Your Health, and you'll be able to catch as we are doing this simultaneously. So you can be on either site, actually.
Right.
So,
right.
But basically, Oscar actually came up with this idea because he was in Kung Fu class. And
yeah, what happened is, well, there's a few things, right? One is, if you know, I have my Kung Fu brother Jason. We're about the same age, and we're trying to keep up with these young kids still doing this one here is advanced Kung Fu class, which is pretty tough to follow along. And as we've gotten older, we realize that we can't kind of do it exactly the same as we've done it before, but we still want to do it. So there was a time that we went through some exercise of reform. We went to the side. We both looked at each other and said, "I'm getting too old for this shit," which is actually a really great line from Lethal Weapon, the whole Lethal Weapon series. And then we just started thinking, you're right. I mean, this is tough as you get to 40. And then starting talking to Mimi about it, also being 40, we're like, yeah, this is actually tough, but we want to continue to do what we love to do, which is Kung Fu. And how can we do that? Maintain still our strength, our power, our balance, and our health.
And pretty much to prove that it does just get better as you get older, not necessarily easier, but hopefully with more knowledge and experience, you actually will become a better Kung Fu practitioner. So I know 40 also isn't even that old. I don't think so anyway. 40 is actually still quite young, but it is a little more challenging if you're starting your Kung Fu career at 40 years old versus, 18 or whatnot. And so I have kind of that aging martial artist angle where I started, of course, Kung Fu at 3 years old. And so as time has gone on, as most of you know, I'm 40 now, I have felt differences. And so I thought maybe it would be good for me to kind of share some of those things with you as you also age with your Kung Fu practicing. And then, Oscar has kind of a different viewpoint since he started a little later, a little bit after 3.
Yeah, I started Wah Lum Kung Fu closer to like 25, between 25 26, and so anything like that, and had to struggle. Kung Fu in general is humbling. Wah Lum Kung Fu in particular is very humbling because it puts a lot of demands on your body, and so I think we found between the two of us a nice blend of how can we continue to improve. And it reminds me, if you remember, when we were in LA and we were with a friend of yours, and he said something to us because we were in our early 20s at that time, and he said, "Oh, wait till you get to 30." And I remember going, "Actually, when I'm at 30, I want to be in better shape." And when we look at Master Chan, who's 80 now, so we're technically half his age.
Yeah, we're trying to keep up.
He still moves really well, and so our goal is, okay, we're 40. How about trying to be in better shape at 50 than we are now? Like, how can we improve and do it in a safe way? And I think it's very possible. And if you join us on this little experiment, then we can see this improvement.
Yeah, and if any of this information is even helpful, so please feel free to comment, ask questions, and let us know what you would like to know, because of course this is really about sharing our experience with all of you, since we realize we get a lot of questions when we're at the school, specifically from our adult class. Have you, kids just jump into the splits and they don't need to warm up, and we've found, as time has gone on, warm up becomes a little bit longer, and cool down comes a little bit longer, more important. And these type of things are the types of things that we hope that we can share with you, so that you can also not get discouraged in your Kung Fu training or any type of training that you're doing, really, post 40. Not that this doesn't apply to those youthful and younger practitioners, but we particularly want to address that as you do get older, it does get a little bit more challenging, but by no means should it stop you. Like,
Right.
Don't let it stop you. So we definitely want you all to feel encouraged. And of course, if you're not 40, and again, I know that's not that old, but if you're 50 or 60 or 70, or like Grandmaster Chen at 80, he's always our example for what we should be doing. I think my feed just went down, so Oscar's is hanging in there as he's on his cell phone.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things. One is we're going to be speaking specifically to martial arts practitioners who are 40, because that's who we are, but that doesn't mean that you can't learn something from it or share your experience on whatever your journey is. Kung Fu means hard work, so anything that you're striving to do at whatever age you are at, that's what this is going to be for, and we are happy to share that with you. The other thing is that if you're at our age, which is 40 or 50 or 60, I think you're going to be, well, you already know, but I'm shocked at how young I feel. Like when I talk to a kid in Kung Fu class, and I feel like I'm talking to someone who's close to my age, and then when I walk away, I was like, wow, that person could be my son or daughter. And oh, thanks, Martha, for listening. I appreciate that. And so I think that all of us, as we get older, we're realizing that we want to continue doing things that we love, and we should feel young, we should feel energetic, we should feel like we continue doing all of those things, and that's kind of the purpose of this weekly podcast.
Yeah, and actually it will probably be only about like 10 minutes long, so it won't take very much time. And of course, if you miss us live, that's okay. You can always check post feed. And so for those of you on my feed, I did just restart, so you'll have to like see 2 different videos, but it's not a big deal. We are still working with this whole technology business. So today, we really wanted to just introduce you to why we really started to decide to do the live stream. We've had a couple suggestions and questions as it is.
Right.
And I think one of the first things that we'll kind of just jump into, for me, I just mentioned a little bit earlier, was like the warm-up part, especially because some of you who've been following me, thank you very much, by the way, noticed I just posted last week my back handspring, which I haven't done in like 10 years. And the kids are doing an 8-week gymnastics course at the temple, and so Oscar and I do a little bit of a 1-hour session with the coach beforehand, just to kind of get our handstands and cartwheels in check, and just to kind of keep in tune. We just thought it would be something fun, and I had no idea that he was going to have me flipping around again, and so that's been a bit of a challenge. And I realized our warm-ups have gotten longer and longer as the 8 weeks has progressed, because our, what I've been demanded to do has been a little more challenging as well. Hi, Chris. It's been very eye-opening to see that something that I used to do and how I remember doing it, and then going to do it now, like the amount of effort it takes and the amount of warm-up it takes is vastly different than back when I was 20. I could do like 10 back handsprings without a warm-up on the concrete, and now I'm warming up for about 30 minutes, doing 10 more minutes of basics, and then finally jumping into that skill. But either way, it's still a lot of fun, and I could still do it. So that just really proved to me that in order to stay fit for what I want to do, I just maybe have to warm up a little longer.
Yeah, and actually, so there's 2 ways that. This is why we thought this would be interesting that we both kind of do this. Is the way Mimi approaches it is she's thinking, wow, things that I didn't have to warm up before, now I've got to start thinking about this is what I'm going to do and how do I prepare for it. And then on my side, I've never done a back hamstring, but I've been trying to do like cartwheels, right? So it goes from, okay.
We should post your cartwheel so everyone can see the glory of Oscar's cartwheel.
Right,
this is a big deal, because if you've never been upside down as a child and did it growing up, as an adult, it's really scary. It's like diving off the high board.
Yeah. So there's two ways to do it. As you get older, one, how do you approach doing things that you used to do and that were really easy to do without a warm-up? And then 2, how do you approach doing things that you've never done before, but you feel that you still have every right, and be like, hey, you know what? I can still work towards that. So we can kind of approach it in 2 different ways. And I think that if you look at, I could talk about warming up for forever, but if you look at warming up in that way, as try to say, okay, how can I approach this a little bit more intelligently, listening to my body, and doing the things that are right for me. So the things that Mimi does and the things that I do may be slightly different, but with the same goal in mind. We want to be able to improve. I will say that, no problem, Martha. I will say that when it comes to warming up, my thought on warming up is your warm-up starts when you wake up in the morning, and then it ends when you go to bed at night. And what I mean by that is you just need to constantly be trying to find some kind of movement throughout the day. So, but I could talk about this forever. So,
well, let's just be really specific since we, I don't think most of our viewers are trying to do back handsprings, but I think most of you love Kung Fu like we do. And you know, one of the biggest challenges, for example, is horse stance.
Yep.
And so we were actually talking, and he's gonna write some really specific stuff on how to improve that. But you know, just for example, maybe give some notes on what would be good, because that's the first thing we do at Wah Lum, right? Is the Bifid style. We warm up with our horse stance, and sometimes we need a warm up before the warm up in order to get into that movement. So maybe you can share like your favorite warm up that's kind of,
sure.
Like if you're running in a class and you only have 5 minutes, or you didn't get there, what would be kind of good to kind of make sure you don't get injured? Because obviously also the big goal here is being injury free.
Yep.
So
yeah, my philosophy on this has kind of changed throughout the years, but the crux of it hasn't changed, which is always try to move without being in pain and kind of ease your way into it. But if you look at a horse stance, there's a lot of demands that are being put on your ankles, your hips, and your upper back. And so what I've noticed over years of not only being in class but also teaching it is that more and more people are living more sedentary lives. So then we're kind of like don't have the capacity to put our joints in certain positions. So instead of a beginner student or advanced student who asks, well, how can I improve my horse stance? The typical answer would be, well, work on your horse stance. But maybe if they have these brakes on, then they need to mobilize their ankle a little bit, mobilize their hips a little bit, and mobilize their upper back a little bit. And if they target those things first, then when they're doing, they'll be able to kind of sit into a horse stance better and then focus on the benefits of leg strength, patience, chi development, all that stuff, and not be trying to force themselves into a stance. So I think this is something that's better probably done visually, and we're going to be putting up an article and a video on how to do that. But a horse stance is really just a wide squat. So even if you're working on your squat, it's very similar type of things that you would work on.
yeah. I'm gonna blame Oscar on my laptop not working like it always does, and so I am restarting my video one more time. Those of you on the Control Your Health site, you guys are still having a smooth time, but this is the last connection since we're about to log off. But sorry, those of you that I lost on my live video. I'm back. I'm blaming Oscar because he kills all technology. But I did want to say, please listen in on the Control Your Health side if you missed what he just said about the warm-up for the horse stance, because I think it's really good. But also, there is a few people that did request the video of your cartwheel to be posted. Okay. So I will be definitely doing that tomorrow.
You can video me doing a cartwheel. I'd be happy to do it. You know what? The fact that I'm able to even do a cartwheel, something that I've never done before, and I first tried to attempt just like a few weeks ago, I'm super excited about it. Then immediately, of course, Mimi's like, well, let me just do my like backflip or something. She's just like flipping around. I was like, all right, cool. You know, the gymnastics coach was working with Mimi on that. And I was like, I'll just be over here working on my cartwheel. Continue doing what you're doing. I'm gonna do what I'm doing.
That is not true.
But I think it's important that you have a little bit of ambition, right, with what you want to do, but also set realistic goals of where you're at now. So anyway.
Yes, definitely set realistic goals. So please tune in every Tuesday. We're really just going to be here for like 5 to 10 minutes just to have like a quick segment on a topic. So today we kind of jumped in a little bit about warming up. So definitely warm up and don't get discouraged, because you know, as we age with you, we want to share all of our challenges, but also all our successes as well, so that you can feel encouraged and know that we're here. So if you think of questions throughout the week, feel free to leave a comment here, and then we'll address it in our next live stream. Or we're also on Instagram or Twitter. I'm at Sifu Mimi Chan, and he's at
Control Your Health.
Yeah.
And so any comments are welcome. Any questions you may have are welcome. We kind of have an idea of where we'd want to go, like episode to episode, but very fluid about it, and we can just talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, so hopefully you'll find this useful and share it with anyone else that's 40 or over especially, and I think might have challenges with working out, or specifically for Kung Fu. We want to help all of our fellow Kung Fu practitioners out there, especially Wah Lum guys. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today and subscribing. It's so good to see a lot of you, and for commenting. Right. Thank you. Bye Chris, bye Alvin and Hip, and all of you guys who have tuned in.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Have a good night.
Bye.